What's up, everybody? Wellness Speak Live. I am DJ Anthony here in New Jersey. That guy right there is Rico Graziano in Cali. And anyways, I have a lot of guests that come from Cali actually nowadays. So I don't know what's going on here. Magnus, my reoccurring Wednesday guest, is from Southern Cal. So, but Rico, thanks for coming on. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing good. My accountant says that the only place worse than California is New Jersey.
Well, for taxes, yeah. I mean,
tax-wise.
That's right. That's right. But thanks for making time as always. And I think we broke the internet with our Christmas show. Everybody and their mother saw that and they loved it. I got so many emails and texts and feedback saying, "Oh my God, thanks for you and Rico bringing me down memory lane with my no, my aunts and uncles." I was like, "Oh, thanks, dude." So they were chanting your name, saying, "You got to have Rico back on." I'm like, "All right, we're going to do it."
Yes.
So, all right, cool. And I always like to start off just by saying, we're two friends talking. We're not giving any medical or legal advice. We're just two friends talking. I got to do these disclaimers nowadays. So, Rico, I saw an article recently, and it was about men's friendship recession, or we'll just call it friendship recession because it affects women too, but I think it affects men more. And I was like, I could see this. I could see this happening, and it's kind of sad. And I thought of you because you're kind of like me. You're outgoing. You're gregarious. I'm assuming you got a lot of friends in Cali. I know I got a lot of friends in Jersey. I know you got friends in Jersey too. So, I don't know. Do you see maybe men that or women having a hard time making friends or being lonely, or have you ever experienced that? Go ahead. What do you think? I mean,
when it comes to loneliness, that I feel like that happens all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need to I can have a million friends and still feel lonely sometimes,
yes.
That happens, especially sometimes even more when you have a lot of people in your life and then all of a sudden, like, nobody calls you on a Friday or Saturday. It's,
yes,
it could still get lonely. That's just a human emotion that's, unavoidable.
Right. Well, to your point, the old saying, the loneliest place on earth is a room full of people. So I mean, yeah, so you're true. But I think us men suffer more than women, generally speaking, because I think us men, we can't say what you just said. I'm lonely, or I get lonely. I've been lonely. Me too. Men are supposed to shut up. Hey, be tough. Shut up. Suck it. Oh, what are you crying about? It's in World War II. Shut up. Yeah. And it sucks because I think that's the big reason why us men don't live as long as women. Have a lot more health problems than women do because we don't make connections after high school or college. It's like, forget it. Guys usually murch off their wives or girlfriends' friends. They don't really make their own friends. And I'm not saying that's you or me, but that kind of happens a lot. I think women, Rico, tell me what you think. I don't know if your wife is like this, but I think women are better at keeping connections and making friends. Like, women can say, "Hey, let's get together, do our nails." Guys can't do that. Like, if a dude was like, even if I don't know about you, but if a guy was just like, "Hey, let's just get together, have lunch," I'd be like, eh? Like, you know what I mean? But women, no big deal. Even in my church, like, I'll be like, "Hey, let's go out for lunch," guys that I know, and they're like, eh. I'm like, I don't know. So do you see that women, do women have an easier time?
Well, I think what happens is that when we're like in high school and college, like, guys just like, we bond because we see each other. And then, like, as we get older, like, our interests, depending on your interests, like, I literally have friends that are like, we joke that we're football season friends from like the beginning to the end. And then all of a sudden, like 6 months, it's ghost town. But I think when they get older, they go through certain changes together, whether they get pregnant or not, or if they even don't get pregnant, to where it bonds them a little more. They have more of a reason of, like, they mother with each other, to where I feel like younger women don't bond as well as men do. But then as the ages go on, again, like, like, you don't get pregnant, I don't get pregnant. And so we don't have that, like, or we, like you said, we don't get our nails done together, so there is that change that happens between men and women. That go on to where men actually have to work harder to search more for their pack. Like, humans are pack animals, right? So like, it becomes easier for women, I think, as they get older because women are like, there's a point in women's life where they're a little, who's fighting, not like who's fighting for the men. Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there is that.
You bring up a good point, and I think, tell me what you think of this. I have no proof of this, but this is my assumption. I think there's an underlying homophobia when men want to just be met, like hang out and make a friend. I think, again, no one's ever said that, but I think guys, tend to have, again, generally speaking, that like, oh, was this guy interested in me? Like, yeah, I'm interested in being friends, dude. Relax. Like, nothing, and there's nothing against gay people, but it's just like, I think generally most men, not all, have that underlying homophobia. And it's, I don't know.
Well, I mean, you're right. You're right. There could be something like, like me being vulnerable to you makes me feel less of a man, and that might be just like so deep down that we don't even know it. And I'm not saying that that's what it is, but there's certain like, animalistic things that just, show up. Like, I don't want to show another guy weakness because then he might,
exploit,
like take the pride or whatever, like, so, the alpha, who's the alpha, and like, we can't overlook human, again, instincts.
Yeah. Funny you mentioned that, because me doing the show now for 2 years, me opening up about my life and talking about these topics that are quote unquote taboo for men. The irony is, I think when guys do open up, and I'm not saying be a bumbling idiot crying over like the Giants lost to the Jets. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like, hey, whatever, you lost your loved one and you're crying, or, somebody, I don't know, you have a fear of whatever, like that type of stuff. I think when you open up about stuff like that, the irony is you become bulletproof. You become stronger. Men don't see you as weak. Men, I can't say how many times guys have come up to me, big burly dudes, tattooed, yo, man, great show, man. You got some balls, like opening up. And I was like, oh man, thank you. Like I never really thought of it that way. But so I learned, like, there's an old saying, humble yourself and you shall be exalted. Exalt yourself and you shall be humbled. So you have to, I think, and again, so opening up is counterintuitive, but I think ultimately it makes you stronger. But but you're right though. I think the average guy in the street, is not going to want to open up because they're afraid they'll be seen as weak or whatever. All right, so let me ask you this. So kind of a dumb question, but I mean, do you?
There's no right. What did they say? There's no dumb questions.
That's true. Thank you. Thank you, Rico. I'm not talking about acquaintances. I'm not talking about colleagues. I'm not talking about family. But do you have close friends? Does Rico have like a friend or two or three like that you can, lean on and call and whatever? Do you have that?
Yeah, I do. I have actually a bunch of friends. Like I've gone to I'm almost 16 years sober. So I've had friends that I've met out here in like AA and whatnot. Right. And I have, multiple communities in the sense of like I've gone to like improv classes, comedy classes, acting classes when I first got out here. And it's funny because you meet a lot of people in those classes who are like, they're there just to meet people and be more open. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like to get like to find a community. And but it was work. Like it wasn't one of those things like, I always like, even now, like I'm meeting more people. I'm meeting more, going to different comedy clubs that I'm not used to.
Right.
But what I've learned is that like I got to keep showing up, little head nods to guys like, hey, what's up? You know what I'm saying? Like, not like, hey, what up? Like, hey, and if they're reciprocal, like, hey, what's up? I'm Rico. Hey, there's like the one guy's A1. I'm like, all right, I can remember that. That's
easy enough.
Like that's somebody just knew that we've been like, we little compliments to each other. Oh, that was a good joke or whatever, But I have a few friends that like my buddy Levi. He's like one of my closest friends. We talk all the time. We know about each other's family. Like we broke through that wall of that whatever that wall is.
Yeah, feeling a little weird or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, once you get a little look inside each other's families, like we do back home, like you see the little. And you get people too sometimes, like like if you see like a guy who's having a tough, like his, like they'll joke with me to be like, hey, are you allowed to go out Saturday? Check with Melissa, like joking, but yet it's true, I got to double check with so.
Right. Well, and you bring up your wife, and I find this to be an issue I see with a lot of married men, and I'm not saying it's you, but I find that a lot of married men, they lean on their wives and they don't have friends, and that's not fair to the wife. I understand your wife or your husband, your partner should be one of the most important things in your life, but like when it's the only thing you got, like that's not healthy. I think that makes the relationship worse. Actually, it's nice to have a friend that you go out with once in a while, a platonic, friend. It could be same sex, it could be whatever. But I think a lot of my married friends, it's like, bro, they got no lives, and it's just like, dude, do you have a friend? Like, do you have a friend other than, your wife? And the pastor at my church always says, every man and woman needs a soulmate, and it can't be your spouse. That's assumed that your spouse is, whatever, your soulmate. But like, you need to have something else. We're, like you said, we're pack creatures. God made us not only for each other, but to be in community, plural, with others. So let me ask you this next question. Kind of goes into this. So what advice would you give somebody who is having a hard time making friends? And you already alluded to this, kind of like joining thing. But I mean, what advice? I come up to you, I say, Rico, I'm having a really hard time, and I got no friends, dude. Like, this sucks. What would you tell me or whoever?
Well, for me, if somebody said to me, I'd be like, hey man, you want to, like, I'm going to do this. You want to join? Like you have to take the action, right? You have to stay action. One of the biggest things I think for making friends is get rid of the word no. Hey, I'm taking a ride. You want to take a ride with me? Yes. Like if it fits your schedule and you could do it. And also, like, what other guys, and you're right about the marry thing, like probably the healthiest thing you could do for your relationship is have another friend.
Yeah.
Because it's not even just for me to have another friend. It's to give her time to
have a life,
have her whatever her outlet that as a man and a partner I can't fill in. You know what I'm saying? Like when she talks to me about certain feelings and stuff, I'm like, from New Jersey, I'm like, like really, like, like that hurt your feelings, like, like she said, like the other day, like our son, like wanted, like he wanted to be with me more, and it hurt her feelings. I'm like he don't want to be with you tomorrow. I'm like, whatever. Like, so like there's just like, that's so insensitive. I'm like, I don't mean to,
I hear you.
But it's one of those things. It's like showing up, saying yes, saying nothing good happens with constantly saying no. Maybe except if somebody wants to borrow money, you say no.
I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, or whatever. Yeah. No. There's a famous comedian. I forgot his name, but he said that. He said, like, I started to become more successful because I said yes more than I said no.
Yeah, and it's also a thing of flexibility in a sense. Like if you have more flexibility, like my one friend Levi, my closest friend, he's single. He has his own place, the whole bit, and he'll just check in with me every so often, be like, "Hey, what's your weekend looking like?" I'd be like, "Oh, it's packed. I got kids' birthdays. I got to do this. I got to do that." And sometimes I'm like, "Yo, I'm free Saturday night. If you're free," and they'll be like, "Oh, wow, perfect. I'm free too, but I'm meeting up with these to come." Sometimes I don't know those guys, but it's like you kind of connect. Like when I moved out here, I didn't know anybody, but my sister lived here for years. So I met her friends, and then I met friends through those friends, and then so on, and again, but it's showing up, doing the same thing, showing up, doing the same thing, like even like going to the bar, like if you were going to the bar, not that I'm saying like I don't do that, but like you see the same people. It becomes familiar. Hey, what's going on? You find out, oh, you like Pittsburgh? I like Pittsburgh. Oh, you like Dallas? I hate Dallas. Oh, I hate Pittsburgh. Oh, cool. Like, and you find your vibe. You got to pay attention to your vibe also. Like, see, we have a vibe. We grew up, but but they're out there, again, no is the killer of everything.
I agree, man. And it's funny. Someone once said 80% of life success is just showing up. Just show up. Just be there. And I think men, again, after high school or college, we kind of go into our cocoon. I get it. We have careers and family, but you gotta have. And what's funny? A lot of guys will say, like they put the bar so high too. It's like, well, I'm not going to hang out with that person. Why? Well, they said this in 1985. Wow. Really? Like, okay, you don't need, I would even say this, you don't need a best friend, but you need someone or people that can be friendly with, acquaintance with. There's nothing wrong with that. I think some guys set the bar so high, they're looking for the perfect best friend. And it's like, that's not fair either. If you only have
it's I kind of like when people are like certain ways, like they're like, oh, that guy's an asshole or something, and I'm like, but him, like what you're getting, like what I'm saying, like I almost like that a little better of a guy who's a little bit not even, let's say, direct, but like I know what I'm getting into, and then there's people that I just know like I don't vibe with, and it's usually never something of what they say or something, because I just kind of like like I'm not a judging person, and that's another thing, like you can't really judge what somebody says, like even when it comes to politics, because what. You really sit there. You could play both sides of both things. Like, what's his perspective on this?
Yes.
Okay. I don't agree with it, but you know what? Whatever. Like, it doesn't really, like, like it's not going to, we ain't going to change the world in the sense of like, I could change my bubble.
Right.
But, and then also I have a thing too, that I don't waste time. I have so many people that I want to spend time with that I don't have time for, that I spend no time thinking about people I don't like or people that don't want to hang out with me.
Right.
Sometimes I'll tap in on it and be like, oh, I wonder what, but then I'm like, everybody goes through their own thing. When somebody loses a family member or something, and it's a quick thing. You're there for the 3-4 days afterwards, and then they go through their process of whatever that may be.
Yeah.
And whenever somebody has like a tough life event, I always check with them every month or so, or that even if somebody I'm not close with, like, hey man, how you doing?
Right.
They're like, good, going through it, and then like,
means a lot.
Oh, I'm dealing with like trust stuff or whatever, like things from like a lost family member or something.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, I went through the same thing. Like, like, and you also could find common ground on like a life trauma, I guess.
Oh, of course. Trauma bonding, actually. Yeah. I mean, to your point, and I think you hit on something. It's a shame when guys or women they don't want to talk to that person because, oh well, they voted for that person. Okay, but aside from that, you get along with them, right? Like, you're gonna throw away a friendship because they voted for somebody else, or they're that religion. I don't talk to them. What? Like,
I mean,
you get along.
Yeah,
it's like you're gonna throw that out, and like you said, we're not changing the world. Okay, so what? Otherwise we get along. So I'm gonna not talk to that person because they are a particular religion or have a religious belief.
Oh, I have a friend. I have a Palestinian friend and I have a Jewish friend, and they and they're still friends, and they know what's going on. But it's the one thing, like they both say to each other, like, this guy can't even get out for the weekend without asking his wife. It's not like he can really do anything about, like,
right.
He has his thing, I have my thing, like, but we both know where we stand.
Put it aside
on whatever, but we, it's our friendship stays the same, in the sense of.
No, you're right, 100%. That's a beautiful thing. I wish more people can do that.
But then also, you know what? It's one of those things. I think that it's easy. Life is. We always take the easy way. The easy way is saying no. The easy way is not working for a relationship. The easy way is not going to the gym. The easy way is not working out healthy. And it's the same thing with relationships. It's much easier to find something. It's hard. Find the good in somebody. Find the thing that you like in somebody and lean on that. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's people I know that, like, like, even in the comedy world or whatever that we're doing in the acting world, that are like, I will see something I really like in them, like their hustle. And I'm like, that guy can teach me that part. Like, there's another thing that I've been working with, like, and it's so funny because I did we call it a workout room where I was the only straight guy in the room. And it was just me with pretty much a bunch of feminists and transgender people. And it was so funny because I'm trying to get my set back a little bit, like, like a little ease softer for the crowd, so it could be a little bit more, liked, instead of being so guy centric and like whatever jokes. And so again, like, I mean, we all like each other. We all found the common ground. I'm starting to like, I mean, I don't know how I veered off on that, but
no, it's okay. But to your point, we all have more in common than apart, and if you watch the noise, I mean, news, the news wants us to think we're all at each other's throat. But when you think about it, gay, straight, rich, poor, Jew, Muslim, Christian, Hindu, whatever, we all have so much more in common. We only have maybe one or two things out of 1,000 things so that are different. So it's like, it's unfortunate though, right? Yeah, because we all sometimes look at only the thing that we have that is different, but look at the hundreds of things we have that are the same. I don't know. It's a weird thing.
Well, people also in that thing too. They all like they think there's groups, and there are groups and bubbles in the sense of, like, I have friends who are very wealthy, right? And I know they do things around me because, you know what? I can't go to Bali for the weekend. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's cool. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, like, don't even ask me, short of you want to pay for me, but like, it's cool.
I get back.
But some other people won't get something like that. And then I have other friends where it's the other way, where I'm going to Disneyland and they can't go to Disneyland.
Right.
And of course, I wish I could bring them to Disneyland.
Yeah.
So, like, just,
dude, 100%. And here's the other thing. I now, on the kind of flip side, I have people that will say, "Oh, he's my friend" or "She's my friend," and they'll even call me a friend. And I'm like, "Bro, I talk to you once a year, and like, I'm grateful you consider me a friend." But in my mind, a friend is someone that, like, I text or call on average once a week, if I can, and if I can, maybe face to face, break bread. But it kind of, I think with social media, you have people say, "Oh, my friends," and they're talking about, like, quote unquote Facebook friends. I'm like, wait a second, you don't even know these people. Why are you calling them friends for? Like, I think also on the flip side, it's people throw around the word friend a little too freely. Also, it's just like you don't even know these people. But yeah, so it's kind of a
I refer to it like sometimes I'm like, oh, I know him. He's a cool guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like and then like if it gets brought into it, I'm like, well, I see him on Facebook. We grew up. Like everybody I know on Facebook, I've had a moment in our life where it was like, like whatever it is. Like, it's just not like some random person, but it's like, oh, I went to high school with that guy. Yes, it was 30 years ago. But I've been around him.
You were friends or you're friendly, whatever.
Like if he was in the area and he was like, hey, and he reached out, I'd be like, yeah, cool, man, let's go, whatever.
Right. Yeah, no, interesting. I mean, so it was always interesting to me when people say like, oh, that person's my friend, and I'm like, well, you don't even ever talk to them. But what you're saying,
it's a broad term.
Yeah,
it's a broad term. So nowadays, especially.
What's that?
Nowadays, especially.
Oh yeah, right. With social media for sure. All right. So in closing, I would ask you this: what was and I'll answer this too, but in your life, what was one of the most or lonely moments in your life from age 1 to today? What was one of the most lonely moments in your life when you're teenager, 20s, 30s, 40s? Like, what was a time in your life that you felt most lonely?
I think bringing it back to that first question is like when you're done with high school and then college. Like, I didn't go to college, so I went right to work. So it became, it was probably that time somewhere in my 20s to where like it got lonely and things got a little bit more, like you had to make new friends. Most of my friends went to college. Most of my friends all, it was like everybody disappeared the summer after high school, for me.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, like when I started going back to work, it was like, oh, wow, I got to find like people who didn't go to college, and new friends. And then all of a sudden, like the barrier of like, oh, I could be great friends with somebody 7 years older than me. And then as I get older, like, oh, like a lot of my friends are younger than me, and at this age, like 10 years isn't a lot or 8 years isn't a lot, and then again, like, and as I'm getting older, I notice women become a little bit more like guys become a little bit more like women. Like we get softer, they get harder. And that bond starts to happen a little bit too. Like, and it's also like, I don't want to have sex with you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes.
Well, and bro,
always
you're right.
Gets a little blurry.
As we get older, we lose testosterone. Our testosterone levels drop. So you're right. Literally, there's scientific evidence to prove what you just said, that we get a little more emotional and we get a little bit less tough because we're losing testosterone. And, women have a certain level, but we start to lose it precipitously after like 35. Interesting you mentioned that. Yeah, like you. Funny you mentioned after high school, because I, like you said, on and off throughout my life, I've been lonely. And the past year or so, I've had some lonely moments that were really hard. But yes, when and this is interesting because you and I were very similar in high school in the sense of senior year, right? You and I went to the same high school, for the viewers who don't know. And, we were the top of the food chain. You and I were two of the most popular people in the high school. We graduate, Rico, I went from hero to zero, right? Like I went from, right? And like you, I didn't go to college right away. And so I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I worked right that summer after senior year. But it was tough for me because all my friends disappeared. They all went to college, or most of my friends, 99% of them disappeared. They went to college, they went to military, they moved away. That was really tough for me because I was like, whoa, like that, I have my family. I'm grateful for that. But, you go through your whole life from kindergarten to 12th grade, you and I are very popular, this and that. And now, poof.
Yeah. You had pre-installed friends up to that moment that you didn't even know you had. Right. And then now you got to go out and do the work and like make new friends. And you're so pre-installed to like, oh, he was a senior, we don't hang out with him. Like we don't really hang out with seniors, or we don't hang out with 10th graders. So you have this whole so many pre-installed barriers that like you have to figure out, learn, and it's like, and then it happens throughout life too. Sometimes, like other parts. For me, that was my hardest. Yeah, like you got to step into the circle. Humans are pack animals. Like without if we're not together, we start to like wither. And some people thrive alone. Like but whatever. I mean, it's more rare.
Right. Yeah. To your point. And so now knowing all this too, like when I see friends of mine that are alone or struggling, and I know like either they're divorced or they don't have a large circle, like I try to reach out to them because I know what it feels like, and I know what it feels like, and that makes us a better human being. We become more empathetic, when you go through some trials and tribulations, as you and I both have, and I'm sure many of the viewers have too. So
asking questions is also a good thing too. Like, I'm saying, like asking like a question that somebody has in common or whatever, like just example, like fantasy football. I'm like, hey, should I start this guy with somebody? Like,
Right.
if somebody's like, oh, I play fantasy football, I'll jump right in because I know we both know the thing. Or even if it's a comedy thing, like, hey, how'd you feel about that? You know, like, ask questions, like, you know, like ask questions, and people, it's pretty much throwing the line at like, hey, we do have something in common.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We do it like, hey, you know, like you look like you're doing, like somebody does something with their kid, like something happened at school, my kid. I'm like, hey man, what do you think? Like, how should I handle this? Like the Rico that I grew up with wants to yell and scream at him. I literally got duct tape and I was ready to duct tape all his toys, his box and everything, and be like, you're getting nothing.
That's right.
That's it. Like, you know, and people were like, okay, like,
I do it, man.
Do that. Like,
you know, like,
yeah, they're like,
no, but you're right.
But
asking questions.
Saying yes.
Yeah. Say yes more than no. And to your point earlier, you know, anybody that's struggling with loneliness, guys or girls, I would say, you know, try not to make it about yourself. Like, oh, poor me, poor me, poor me. When you make it about others, then you become more engaged and you get rid of that loneliness. So joining a volunteer group or joining a church group or mosque or synagogue or joining the gym or, you know, joining a club they have tons and tons of groups on Facebook that's free to join, the walking club, this club, that club, knitting club, whatever. Like you said, Rico, you got to get out. You got to say yes more than no. You're not gonna break the loneliness if all you do is stay home and watch movies and play video games. Like, you know, that you're not gonna.
I've taken some classes that were like not saying master classes, but were like high level classes for actors, and like I've seen and I've worked with actors who were working actors, and you'd be surprised how many of them are like, I don't need this class. I just want to, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they just want to, like, you know, because part of life, like, you know, I mean, it's just, it's, you know, so like you'd be surprised that, like I said, like taking, you know, little things like that and doing little community things or whatever the case may be, you know, you're not the only one. Like, don't get into that, like, what do they call it? Uniqueism or something, like, you know, like, you're not unique. Everybody's got, you know, this
right. You think you're so right. You think you're the only one.
Yeah.
We're not. We're humans. You know, in many ways we are unique, but in many ways we're just all the same, which is the beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So, well, Rico, before we wrap it up, anything else you want to say before I say goodbye to everybody?
No, just say yes, say yes, say yes, say yes, say yes, say yes, and
say yes more
whatever,
than no.
Man, you know what? At the end of the day, if you got food and you got shelter, the rest is all noise and bullshit. And
you're doing good.
Let people be who they are. Because if, you know, give them permission to have somewhere to fall. If, you know, like if Melissa says something, I know she's wrong. Sometimes I got to let her fall and be like, and not say, told you.
Right. You don't throw it in the face.
Comes to me, be like, okay, she knows, I know.
Yeah. And then also that grace will be extended to you when you mess up.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, Rick, thank you. As always, love to have. I'm going to have you back on. As always, you're
yes, I love this. I'll do anything with you, man. I think you're insanely talented, and well, not every, you know, I say no sometimes.
No, I know what you're saying. No, thank you very much, and you're a crowd favorite. So definitely gonna have you back on. And everybody, don't forget, like, subscribe. We got great content coming up in the future. Rico, thank you so much. I'm going to sign us off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye.
Bye.